Last Friday, Pokemon announced the new starters for Gen 10, and needless to say, people had things to say about them, but I think the funniest thing is that everybody is comparing the new water starter to a Littlest pet shop. I definitely was not expecting Pokemon to be the reason that Littlest pet shop re-enters the more popular zeitgeist, but here we are. Hey guys, it's Cobalt here. Welcome back to another video. While I do think the Gen 10 starters are a little bit generic, I do love Pokemon and I do love LPS. I am no stranger to Pokemon-themed Littlest pet shop customs, so I figured I would try my hand at making Gecqua into a real Littlest pet shop that actually looks like it. The LPS molds that I've seen people most often compare it to are the Iguana and Gecko molds, and yeah, I see it. The big eyes definitely are not helping, but I want to try to make my custom as accurate as it could possibly be, and I don't really think that the head shapes for either of these two LPS lizards fits Gecqua's silhouette. So I'm actually going to be using a G3 frog for the head. I know, this LPS is super weird looking, but the head is like the perfect shape. And then for the body, I'm going to be using the G7 axolotl, although I'm definitely going to be doing a lot of modifications to the body and some modifications to the head as well. So I started off by removing both of their heads. I'm also going to be removing the tail and the back fins on the axolotl because we're going to resculpt its tail. I usually don't film my sculpting process when I do time-lapse videos, but I thought that it would be relevant for this video and also to make it a little bit longer because the paint job on this one was actually pretty quick. I totally would have loved to post this video a lot sooner, but I actually had to order the head and it didn't arrive until today. So I basically made this whole custom today, but while I was waiting, I figured that I would just paint the body because I had it already. Usually I would attach the head and do the sculpting on the head before I paint anything, but we're going a little bit out of order this time. Finally, once I had my hands on the head, I removed that from its body as well. G3 LPS are a little bit different. They do not have a bobbling head, which is supposed to be standard for Littlest Pet Shop, but you can actually attach them onto a neck peg, and if you want to learn how to do that, I do have a video up on my channel talking about it. But I attached that to the body, bobble still intact, and then I added the sculpting onto the head as well. For the sculpting on the head, I added a little bit to the mouth because I don't like how the frog's mouth is open. I wanted it to be closed so it's a little bit more accurate to the way that the Pokemon looks. And then of course I added their little eyelid, eyelash things. Once the clay was dry, then I could fully base coat the pet. Luckily, I already had this really nice blue paint that was perfect for the character and also is super opaque, so I only had to do like 2 layers, which made this customizing process even speedier than I was originally already planning. And then from there, I went in with the lighter details. This is also a separate color that I had, so luckily I didn't have to mix any of the paint colors that I was using here. Mixing paint definitely is a little bit of a challenge sometimes and makes the whole process go a little bit slower, but I added on those lighter details, so the teardrop on the head, painted the little eyelid things and the lower parts of the eyes, and then all of the toes and the stripes on the back. From what I could find, Gecqua has 2 smaller stripes on their back and then 1 big stripe on their gecko tail. The lighter colors took a little bit more layers because it's a little bit less opaque, but once I got everything the way that I wanted it to be and kind of helped better shape the outlines, definitely on camera the paint job looks a little bit wonky, but I fixed it off screen. But once that was done, I moved on to the eyes. I wanted to make them as accurate to the actual Pokemon as I possibly could, so I had my little reference pulled up for Gecqua's eyes and I painted them. I think mine are probably a little bit more pink than how they actually look. Maybe they're a little bit more purple. They still haven't released the actual evolutionary lines for the 3 starters, and I feel like once I see those, I'll have better opinions on these guys. But I'm calling it now. I think Gecqua is going to be a water psychic type, which I'm kind of partial to because Slowpoke is my favorite Pokemon and his evolution is also water psychic. But anyways, I started with a black base for the eyes, added in the 2 different shades of pink, and then added all of the eye shines. Gecqua also has some white pupils with a black outline, which is probably the most challenging part of the eye just because those details were super small and it was kind of hard to record, but I got it and she is done and I'm pretty happy with this custom. Figured I should add some little Pokemon characters back here, but here is the official reveal of my little Gecqua custom. So I kind of mentioned this in the time-lapse itself, but this is like one of the fastest customs and videos that I've ever made. Everything was done today, which is why this video is coming out a little late, but I didn't just want to wait and post it tomorrow, so any engagement on this video would be very much appreciated. But I'm really happy with the way that the custom looks. I think he's really cute. Obviously, there's some things that I could improve if I spent a little bit more time on him, but I'm happy enough with it. I feel like when I look at the Pokemon itself, I want to call Gecqua a girl, but my custom to me feels a little bit more masculine. Gay son or thought daughter, Gecqua is both. Anyways, so as you saw, I sculpted these little eyelid pieces, which are now light blue. I resculpted the mouth. I didn't paint this in the video, but I decided to give him a little smile, which I think is really cute. And then all of his light blue toes as well. And then the tail, I think it's pretty hard to tell like what bases I use for this custom, especially if you're not familiar with Littlest pet shops. You can see very clearly here that the head does still bobble, even though it was taken from a non-bobbling LPS. But yeah, I think it's super cute. Like I said, I love Pokemon. I really love making Pokemon LPS customs. You saw some of my other ones earlier in the video as well. I definitely have plans to introduce some more Pokemon and LPS fusion related content in the future, so stay tuned for that, I suppose. I guess I should show you the bottom of this custom too. Not too much interesting going on there. But yeah, if you guys are Pokemon fans, sound off in the comments. Let me know if you would like to see more Pokemon LPS custom related videos. And of course, if you made it all the way to the end, comment down below and tell me who is your favorite Pokemon. My favorite is obviously my guy Slowpoke. When the starters were first announced last week, I wasn't really a big fan of them. Like I said, I do find them pretty generic, but with all the fan art that I've been seeing online, they definitely are growing on me. With all the starters, I feel like seeing the evolutionary lines are definitely what's going to make or break them for me personally. I'm usually never really a fan of the grass starters. Sprigatito back here was definitely an exception. She reminds me of my cat. But usually I end up going with the fire starters. But Pom Bomb, I feel like, is honestly like the most generic. It's just another dog Pokemon. I don't know. I guess we haven't really had that many dog starters before, but design-wise, nothing is like super special about him, and I feel that way about Brout too, although I think Brout is an extremely funny name. That's the grass starter. But Gecqua is definitely the one that caught my attention the most, and not because everybody was saying that she looks like a Littlest pet shop. I honestly didn't even clock that at first until literally everybody was DMing me about it. But I also really like the name. Gecqua is just like fun to say. But even though technically this is like the millionth water lizard or water amphibian or reptile that we've had, Gecqua has a very unique silhouette. Like going with something that is actually the shape of like a real gecko, I think is pretty cool and fun. And like I said, my bet is that it's going to be water psychic. I could be wrong, we'll see, but I'm very excited to see what all of the final evolutions look like, and literally praying on my hands and knees that they don't all just turn into furries. Please give us something different. Take me back to the OG Pokemon starters. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I figured since this video is about the starters, I would share some of my actual opinions about them aside from just the process of me making the custom. Like I said, let me know your favorite Pokemons. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!